just want to share a couple of things with you, and then we're coming to the end here. It's coming too fast for me, but I say that just out of my flesh, like I just love you guys, so I don't want you to leave. And that's actually my heart too, my spirit. It's fun, but I also miss my kids too. I do. I miss my kids. I miss my children. You probably miss your family if you're away from them. If you're here with them, you probably need a vacation. But our goal is to be done at 1 o'clock, and I don't see any reason why we can't be out of here. Certainly some things that we want to do at the end, but just want to share. I was going to preach for about 40 minutes, but I'm not going to do that. But I do want to just share a couple little things, a couple of little nuggets that I felt like the Lord laid on my heart last week to just bring all of this to a close. First of all, let me just say thank you too. I'm moved by your heart to seek Him. I've said many times that I wish more people would come to this conference, and we joke about how it's funny how sometimes the people that come are not really even the ones that need to come, because you're the one that's like, you want pure worship, you want this, like, let's go, come on. And then there's all these other people that you feel like, man, they think that they don't need it and they need to come and blah. But I'm just thankful that you guys are saying, hey, I want to take some time out. I want to grow. I want to learn. And if you are here as a result of somebody kind of kicking your tail to get here, then you need to thank them for making you come. Maybe some of the young people, I don't know, you're like, why are we going to this conference? But you were forced to go. But, man, I'm so grateful. It's just so exciting to me to see the transformation happening right before our eyes. And just to give Him all praise and glory for all that. To be a fly on a wall, to be able to watch and see what the Lord is doing in your lives. It's moving to me. And I'm grateful. And the pain, the blood, the sweat, and the tears that goes into preparation and planning and all this stuff. And many times I want to quit. I'm just talking about the conference. I'm just trying to get this done. There's a lot of things going on at North Central University. And there's not a lot of folks there's a few folks that stepped in to help big time with this. But it's a labor of love, and it's a blessing. This is the easy part. This is the fun part. I get to see what God's doing in your lives. That's, too, why I desperately want to hear from you in that exit survey that just popped back into my head. It's not a thing of, business. Go fill out the survey so we can figure out what to change. It's like, I want to hear from you. Like I got to hear some testimonies right there. Isn't that beautiful? But I didn't get to hear from everybody. And I'm going to hang out afterwards. If you guys want to talk, hang out if you have time, whatever. But I want to hear from you in that survey. It's got some questions you can do real quick, and then there's like a couple of spaces where you can tell us, hey, this is what I love, this part right here. Look at that. They got it up on the screen. That's awesome. But you can tell us, hey, this is some of the things that we love, because we don't want to change the stuff that you love, So you got to tell us. You got to tell us, hey, we love this, we love that, we love this. And then tell us hey, what if we did this? Give us some ideas. We could change this. We could do this. Give some feedback, and we'll be grateful. What I was going to preach on, I'll just touch on. The session is kind of a daring title. Yes, you can give right now if you want to, but awesome. Kind of a daring title. I don't know. The ultimate expression of worship. Ultimate's a pretty big word. And we have a lot of expressions of worship, a lot of different definitions, and they're all good. Different parts of worship. You have your musical worship stuff. You got your heart, soul, mind, strength worship. You got your physical worship, the 7 Hebrew words of praise, all these things. You got your lifestyle worship with obedience, and to obey the Lord. You've heard people say that worship is just obedience. It's being a disciple. I think you could kind of interchange the words worshiper and disciple. Worshiper doesn't really mean singer, right? But disciple's a worshiper, and so they're the same. Social justice things like doing good deeds, good acts, true religion, is helping orphans and widows and remaining uncorrupted by the world. So there's a social justice aspect to that. Helping, serving, giving a cup of cold water to somebody. It's an act of worship. Loving your spouse. Lifestyle stuff. Then we got the in spirit and in truth. John chapter 4, talking about that. We could do a whole sermon on that. Got the tabernacle of David. Chuck Porter talked about that a little bit. Certainly, I mentioned lifestyle, being obedience, but just your whole life, right? This is how we started the conference. It seems like a while ago, but with Pastor Anthony, remember he was talking about how life is worship. Don't think of it. Don't categorize it. We have all these different expressions of worship. So the subtitle for this, the ultimate expression of worship, is how worship begins and ends with complete life surrender. This is the ultimate act of worship. Really, all of the ones I just mentioned, all combined into one. But I just want to give a different perspective on this. We know that I feel like the ultimate act of worship is relationship with God. That's the foundational, just intimacy with God, passionate relationship. This one thing. All those scriptures, I used to think all these things were so great, but now I've discarded those and my accomplishments and everything, and now I'm all about just want to know Christ, to be one with God, that relationship. The ultimate act of worship is just that. But the ultimate expression of that in your daily life is what I just want to touch on briefly. And to me, what I felt like the Lord was saying last week when I was thinking about all this, so he's talking about his kingdom come. His will be done. I don't know if some of you guys remember Tommy Tinney, but he used to say, if we truly are saying, Lord, your kingdom come, then there's another piece of that that's kind of said but unsaid, and that is that my kingdom has to go. The two kingdoms can't coexist, right? So we can say, yeah, your kingdom come, your will be done, Lord. But if you follow it down the path, your kingdom can't coexist with his kingdom. Your kingdom has to become his kingdom. It has to be part of what he's doing. His kingdom. So his kingdom comes, our kingdom goes. His will be done, my will be gone. This is the ultimate expression of life, and I think there's a rub in our culture, and this is why I felt like the Lord asked me to speak on this. Do my best to just give you the meat real quick. But I feel like there's a rub because I feel like two different gospels being preached. One is get all you can, dream your dream, go after it. And I think there's some truth in that, but some partial truths going on. We know these verses. Give me just a little bit more light. That'd be awesome. Get my flashlight. Still more. There we go. All right, cool. I mean, I got bifocals, but it's still a little bit challenging, all right? Still really is. Okay. The red letters are really hard to read in the dark. All right, so Matthew chapter 16. From then on, Jesus began to tell his disciples plainly that he had to go to Jerusalem. And he told them what would happen to him there. He would suffer at the hands of the leaders and the leading priests and the teachers of religious law. He would be killed and he would be raised on the third day. But Peter took him aside, corrected him. Gosh, you guys have never done that before, right? Like corrected God. I've never. Anyways, yeah, he corrected him. Heaven forbid, Lord. It seems like those two things don't go together. Like, heaven forbid, Lord. Okay, you're telling Lord what to do. Doesn't make sense. He said, this will never happen to you. Jesus turned to Peter and said, get away from me, Satan. You're a dangerous trap to me. You are seeing things merely from a human point of view. You see that there's a danger in seeing things from a human point of view, right? And not from God's, he said. Then Jesus said to his disciples, if any of you wants to be my follower, you must put aside your selfish ambitions, shoulder your cross, and follow me. Man, I don't like that part. I got to be honest. I did not like that part. Galatians 2:20, I have been crucified with Christ. I myself no longer live, but it is Christ who lives in me. Romans 12:1, and so, dear brothers and sisters, I plead with you to give your bodies to God. Let them be a living and holy sacrifice, the kind he will accept. It's kind of weird because we're like the living dead. We're called to be the living dead or the dead living, where we are literally to die our dreams, our will, our plans, our kingdom. And it's not really a bummer because we inherit his plans, his will, his kingdom. And that's actually like 1,000,000 times better than ours, right? So it's like you feel this weight of, oh, I got to lose everything. But you're gaining way more than you're losing. But you do have to lose. We're the living dead, the dead living. You know what? When you're dead, you don't have an identity crisis. When you're dead, you don't have a lust problem because you're dead to sin. When you're dead, you don't have a sharing the glory struggle because he gets all the glory. When you're a dead, life stops being about me anymore. Joy stops depending on circumstances. Fear stops holding me back because I'm dead to fear. When you're a dead, you don't have an ugly past history any longer. You don't have a disappointing present any longer. When you're dead, you don't have a hopeless future any longer because the future is in his hands. When you're dead, Christ is alive in you. Christ lives your life for you. So he's alive in you, and he's living your life for you. When you're dead, you see through his eyes. You see with his eyes. When you're dead, you have a heart of Christ. You have a mind of Christ. You have the nature of Christ. And you are fully, completely, 100% totally alive when you're dead. But this goes against every ounce of every fiber in my being. Why did God say, if you want to keep your life, you got to lose it? But if you try to keep it, you're going to lose it. Because we're desperately trying to hold on. My life. I mean, is it any more clear in our culture? iPhone, iCar, iHouse, my this, that, everything. It's my Burger King. I don't know. Yeah, whatever. My way. The highway. Whatever. I mean, but it goes against every fiber in my being. And I'll tell you this. I wish I had more time, but I'm going to be vulnerable with you right now. Okay. About 10 days ago, I'm 46, and I've never been more angry at God than I was 10 days ago. If you could have been watching, you would have freaked out. And I promise you, like it was actually prayer. Like I was yelling and screaming at my God. And I was using language that I would never use with you guys or with anybody. But I was praying. And it's the first time I've gone off on God before, but not like this. And it's like little straws that break the camel's back. It was some computer issue that really pushed my button, but it wasn't really the computer. I just erupted. I'm like, I am so sick of sowing and not reaping. I'm so sick of there not being, and this is, I'm just being honest here, okay? I'm not saying all these things are right or true or whatever, I'm just saying this is what I was doing. I'm so sick of people hurting so much. I'm so sick of the word depression. I'm so sick of people being bound up in fear and stress and anxiety because it's a lie from the pit of hell. I am so sick of not seeing the healings that I want to see when I lay hands on people. Oh, I've seen one, maybe out of 100. And God's like, yeah, you have. Just last week, you prayed for one of our sound guy. He had nail piercings, pain going through the heel of his foot. You prayed for him, he got healed. I'm like, yeah, Lord, but what about the other 99? Can anybody relate to what I'm saying here? I get so, I'm just like, Lord, this Orlando stuff, the kid, the baby, the crocodile, just like, what? I've had so many people die in the last year. Our good friend Jane Grinnell, one of my past sound guys in January, one of the most healthy guys I've ever known in my life, Justin Burns, just turned 30. Is that somebody's house? Drop dead. Boom. Just like that. Dead before he hit the floor. Went to his funeral. I was just like, Lord, I'm sick of it. I'm so sick of this. And then I threw a little jealousy in there too. Why is their ministry growing? Why is our school struggling? Why is Pure Worship Conference not full like other conferences? Why is blah, 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 why? I just went off on everything, man. Why are our neighbors not... I just had to get it out. One of our former VPs here, Pastor Nate Roosh, pastor of Emmanuel Christian Center, was here in chapel, and he's talked about how we got to process this stuff with God. So many times we want to process it with other people. We don't process it with God. I was praying. And you know what I felt from the Lord? I didn't feel this from the Lord. I felt, just, come on, give it to me, son. It's all right. Just give it to me, son. It's all right. It's all good. Whoa, that was a big one. Okay, go ahead. Whoa. All right, okay. Yeah, give it, go. Oh, yeah. Oh, Jesus, help us. This life is hard, guys. But it's also awesome. It's also beautiful. What does it mean to deny ourselves? What does it mean to let go of our kingdom? There's a couple little things. Read one real quick from Matthew 22. I'm going to read part of this. Jesus told them several other stories to illustrate the kingdom. Man, you just studying these little parables on the kingdom is very powerful. He said, the kingdom of heaven can be illustrated by the story of a king who prepared a great wedding feast for his son. Many guests were invited, and when the banquet was ready, he sent his servants to notify everyone that it was time to come. But they all refused. So he sent along other servants to help to tell them, the feast has been prepared, and choice meats have been cooked. Everything is ready. Hurry! But the guests he invited ignored the invitation and went about their business. One to his farm, another to his store. When I was reading that the other day, these two words jumped out at me. Their business. There's a trap from the enemy that wants you to believe, and it's been preached from pulpits, that you can do anything that you dream you can do. And that's not true. You can do anything that God tells you to do, assigns you to do, or if he gives you a dream to do, but you can't do anything that you dream that you can do. I don't see any evidence in the Bible of anybody seeking a dream. We know that the Lord is going to give dreams and visions. Joseph wasn't seeking a dream. He's the dreamer guy, right? God dropped it on him. Nobody in the Bible is seeking dreams. Nobody's like seeking, what can I do? Save the world and get noticed on YouTube and it's all for the cause of Christ and all this stuff. Nobody's seeking that stuff in the Bible. I feel like it's a cancer that we're trying to seek our thing. And trust me, it hits me hard too, because I'm trying to die to my dreams, my version of God's dreams. His dreams are way better anyways. The distinction, I'm not telling you not to have dreams. Don't hear me say that, okay? I'm not telling you can't have dreams, but don't have your dreams, have his dreams. Does that make sense? It makes sense, right? It's not your dream. You don't get a dream that's yours. You get a dream that's his, and everybody gets one of those. But don't seek your dream. In fact, don't seek a dream at all. Seek the dream giver. Some people are you guys we're seeking the dream more than the dream giver. And we're finding our own pathways. And we all know what that does. There's a path that seems right to a man, but it ends in death. That's the bad kind of death. It'd be a good thing if it ends in death of our flesh. What are God's plans for me? Well, we all know Jeremiah 29:11. Okay, we know it. It's also quoted out of much pain and suffering if you read the context. But there's more than that. Yes, he has plans to prosper, hope, future, not to harm, all those things. But New Testament, he also has plans for you to suffer. The Bible says in 1 Peter that that's part of our calling, to suffer. If you're a believer, I'm pretty sure it says all believers will be persecuted. That's part of God's wonderful life plan for you. Welcome to be Christianity. Refinement, well, that's fun. But it is fun. It's just fun in a weird kind of way, in a God kind of way. Do you want life? Let go of your life, and you'll find true life. The ultimate expression of worship is dying to self. If you were to read the end of Hebrews chapter 11, we know Hebrews chapter 11 is the faith chapter, right? All these amazing stories, amazing victories, amazing, like, wow, overcomers, right? Right? Somebody say, yeah, amen, right? There's amazing stories in there, but guess what? Did you read the end of the chapter? It gives this whole long list of all these people that overcame. And then at the end it says, but. Everybody say, but. Mm-hmm. But others, so it listed all these other people that victorious. And it said, but others trusted God and were tortured, preferring to die rather than to turn from God and be free. They placed their hopes in the resurrection to a better life. Some were mocked and their backs were cut open with whips. Others were chained in dungeons. Some died by stoning and some were sawed in half. Others were killed with the sword. Some went about in skins of sheep and goats, hungry and oppressed and mistreated. They were, I love what it says, they were too good for this world. They wandered over deserts and mountains, hiding in caves and holes in the ground. I just get the feeling sometimes when I read stuff like this that we're misinterpreting what it means to have abundant life. We're misinterpreting what prosperity is. What's prosperity? Money in my wallet, money in my bank account. What about true riches? Peace. What's that worth to you? All of these people, so now he says all of them, the ones that overcame, the ones that didn't overcome. All these people we have mentioned received God's approval because of their faith. yet none of them received all that God had promised. For God, hear that. None of them received all that God had promised in this life. For God had far better things in mind for us that would also benefit them. For they can't receive the prize at the end of the race until we finish the race. The ultimate act of worship, all those things combined, is us laying down our lives. It's laying down our agendas. It's not my dream. It's God's dream. And that's the best thing anyways, because his dream is way better than my dream. Don't seek the dream. Seek the dream giver. Allow your flesh to be crucified daily, denying yourself. But that's not, oh, woe is me. That's like hallelujah, because now I go back and read that whole other thing I did earlier, right? When you're dead, life stops becoming about me anymore. When you're dead, joy stops depending on circumstances. Come on. That's where we're going. We're not saying, oh no, we have to die to self. Poor old me, that's horrible. It's wonderful. Welcome to the party of dying to self and allowing God to live in you, because that's when you can overcome. That's when you can do greater things than you could ever do by yourself, because the Spirit of God alive in you. That's when you can see God moving in your congregation, in your family, in your spouse. That's when you can see God moving in your neighborhood. That's when you can see God moving, because you're dead and we don't need us anymore. We need him. You filled up with him. God, we praise you. We thank you for your word. It's intense. And the devil's tricked us into believing that your way is hard. But your word does say that your burden is light. So carrying our cross, dying to self, is actually the best and easiest way, because we're not trying to make it on our own anymore. We're not striving, struggling. We're just holding on to you. We love you, God. You're beautiful. Just tell him. Just take a few seconds. Just whisper to him. Just say, I love you. Teach me more, Lord. Teach me more. Help me understand. I need understanding, Lord. Give me wisdom. Give me discernment. Holy Spirit, knowledge. Help me see. Waken the eyes of my heart, Jesus. We love you, God. We love you. We love you.